This was on the heels for me of another organization that was begun a long time ago in a land far, far away in Victoria called the Communication Arts Group, which Colin Fudge was associated with, and also a couple of members of Palmer Jarvis. And they had basically an artists' organization that was supposed to network and foster design and support for the artist issues. And actually Ron Lightburn and Soren both mentioned to me about the possibility of starting a group specifically for illustrators, and I liked the idea, so I attended the darn meeting.
The group started, I guess I was the one that wanted to get things going, because I had this studio, and my idea was I was going to do illustration for a living, and I didn't know who else in town was doing it. I had virtually no clients. First we were this sort of loose group of, eclectic group of artists getting together. And then we formed a society. We thought that would make us really serious if we registered ourselves and formed a society, organized ourselves on the bare bones of the Societies Act, have that as our guidelines for the structure of the group, and that was all fine. Make it all legal and everything. That really didn't change the who we were, who the group was made up of, and how we wanted to organize ourselves. So I think by creating the sticking to these distinctions, that people who demonstrate that they're doing illustration for a living, they would be full members, and there would be associate members, people who are interested in learning more about illustration, but they wouldn't have the full participation in the shows and the promotional activities of the group. There really would be a place for everyone, and we've had shows and workshops, guest speakers, people coming from out of town when we could get them in. Members coming and going through the years. I think basically the group all along has been for artists, people who liked illustration, liked the idea of doing illustration, but really didn't have any idea of how to get going doing it. What is illustration, and who is an illustrator? All these debates. And we came to a simple definition that an illustration is an image made to accompany written text. So that could be anything. It could be Fimo relief sculpture, paper sculpture, even photography, all kinds of two-dimensional art, airbrush, you name it, whatever medium the artist works in. So an illustrator is somebody who makes their living doing illustration.
Illustration is a business. It's not necessarily a hobby or a pastime in my mind and in my experience. Someone once beautifully described the difference between an illustration and a piece of fine art. I think it was Colin Bowley. He said that an illustrator has a very tough job ahead of him, because he has to work with a definition of the title ahead of time. So his piece of artwork has to meet that title. Whereas a painter, a fine artist, for example, can title his work after it's done. The reason for and the definition of the organization still hasn't been refined to a point where everyone could agree. I think what we have is one of those timeless and unanswerable questions like, what is art? What is the meaning of life? And so on and so forth.
Yeah, so the original aim and purpose of the group was to foster and promote the art and craft of illustration. And then we produce things like the first directory, the Young Illustrators '86, and then this is another one that's come out subsequently. It's a direct mail piece, again with tear sheets for the artists that they can send out and have as leave behind samples when they go for interviews or portfolio showings. There's places where you can buy to sell your work outside Victoria. You can buy lists of clients, mailing lists that are being updated if you want to do a direct mail campaign. That's part of the effort of producing the membership directory and the first portfolio that we produced. That we would contact our markets by direct mail, and it worked. I got jobs from it. A lot of other people got jobs from it that more than paid for the cost of taking part in it. Graphic designers, they hire, they buy illustration. Ad agencies. The market's quite wide. You could play the whole field if you wanted to, or be specific. It's a small market, Victoria. There's no big head offices here where you're going to have marketing directors buying from you directly. You'd have to go to Vancouver. You have to go to a bigger city to get in touch with those people. Can be done. I think it's a matter of not waiting for the clientele to reach us and to recognize us, but going out to reach them, and for us to make take the initiative to find the clients, let them know what we do. With a newsletter, there's usually a feature artist every month. Now I say artist because that's what it's been over the past years. Maybe an illustrator, maybe not, but it gives people a chance to promote their work, possibly to get new clients. People do spend hours working by themselves with little feedback. That's one of the benefits of the group is you can meet with other like-minded artists and share information.
One thing that's really important, though, and that is, in my day, and I'm sure it's the case now, and I'm sure it's the case with any volunteer organization, that about 3 or 4 people do all of the work in an organization. And it just happens that way. Most artists tend not to be people who want to sit around and organize meetings or do presentations. They usually work on their own. And I'm like that, but I, at various times, did various jobs within the group. But if the membership rallies behind and takes on responsibility for various activities, then it's going to be alive and fun and get focused. And if that kind of sponsorship is there, then that's great. Do you define the organization in a narrow way so that it is full of a particular group of people, and keep it intense and rich in that specific group of professional illustrator, for example? Or do you broaden it to include other related aspects of illustration and fine art, commercial art, to make the environment perhaps a little more eclectic, maybe richer? Those issues will be debated till the end of time. The organization is still a little random, which there's nothing wrong with that. It's great. A little eclectic in terms of the different directions and different paths. I think the future of it is very much in the hands of the current membership. If they decide that they want to have it broad in terms of definition, in terms of activities, then it will carry on in much the way it has in the past. If, on the other hand, they decide they're going to fight for a narrower definition and target specific activities and specific kinds of presentation, then I think they have a very strong statement towards the public. And it's really a matter of what the majority of people involved now want to say. It's quite possible that it will the membership is going to tell. And whether or not it's good or bad for the individuals will be on their own direction. It is a good group, and it's lots of fun, good people, like minds who sit around and eat cookies. And I don't think we've had a Stump the Stars there for a long time, have we? No. See, we have to do more Stump the Stars stuff.